It's time for a Humans in Tune conversation with Darren on 93.9 Mike FM.
Hey, it's Darren with you for another Humans in Tune conversation. Glad to have you along. Tonight, Friday night, it is another Jazz Underground performance at Scout Hall. This series has been a blast. We've seen such incredible talent hit the stage at Scout Hall for this Underground Jazz series, sponsored by Abstraction Spirits. And on the phone with me right now, I have Catherina Shulte. She is performing tonight, as it is Bossa Nova night. I don't have anything special to wear for that. Do you have any suggestions, Anna?
Well, I particularly like to wear something that looks like 50s and 60s just because Bossa Nova was created at the time, and that's kind of like my brand, my style. So if you want to dress up, feel free.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna do my best. I'll go dig around and see what I can find. But yeah, thank you so much for having some time to chat with me on the phone.
Absolutely.
I'm excited about this show tonight. As I mentioned, this series has brought such great talent, and we've had a ton of wonderful instrumental talent. But your instrument is your voice, and we can't wait to hear you share that with us tonight.
I'm very excited too.
We're looking at your performances. We call this Bossa Nova night, but I think it's fair to mention that right now you're still at University at Western Illinois, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
I attend Western Illinois for musical theater, actually.
Yeah, and so, when we think of a jazz concert, we may not necessarily think of a theatrical element, right, necessarily. But
for sure.
I think that plays such a part into the stage performance and really your intonation, your expression, all those kind of things that come into how you sing. So tell us a little bit more about, and you're Brazilian born.
Mm-hmm.
So that, there's rich musical traditions there. Your heritage, brings a lot to that with those Brazilian roots. What connected you into American jazz and kind of this whole era?
So, well, as I said, I studied musical theater, and I am from a musical theater background. I come from, dance because my mom had a dance studio. So I got in contact with the performing arts very, 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 very early, like 3 years old, pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, so then I started dancing first, and then I showed interest in theater and started singing very early as well. Like when I was like 8, 9 years old, I showed that I liked that and started studying, voice. Initially popular, Brazilian popular, they call it. It wasn't like classical voice or anything like that. But then as I grew up, and showed more and more interested in the performing arts. My mom and my grandma, actually, they invested a lot on me and, started taking more seriously. But it was always focused more in musical theater.
Mm-hmm.
But musical theater has a big root also in jazz. Like the beginning of musical theater was pretty much in the beginning of jazz at the same time.
Right.
So a lot of the repertoire of musical theater has a lot to do with jazz. And because of that, I started getting more and more into jazz. When I was in Brazil, I had this milestone or dream of, having a jazz quartet or singing with a jazz band. But I never, that never actually happened in Brazil. I was totally focused on musical theater. But when I moved to the United States in 2019, I kind of just got into it, got in contact with the performers in Chicago because I lived in Chicago for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
The Brazilian performers in Chicago, they play a lot of jazz as well as musical Brazilian music, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just it happened naturally. As me being a Brazilian, people wanted me to sing Brazilian music, and I also wanted to do that too because at the same time I listened to a lot of musical theater when I was younger. My family has always, played on the radio and stuff like that, Brazilian music too. So I listened to all of that at the same time. So I had pretty much I had a João Gilberto CD memorized already because I listened to it so many times and I loved it even though I never performed it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, when I got in Chicago, I started performing, doing gigs, singing Brazilian music, and it was kind of happening naturally. To the point that I was like, okay, I want to do that for real. I want to have my quartet. I want to have a career as a vocalist as well, and pretty much at the same time as I can have a career in musical theater. It's they're not exclusive.
Right.
So I just decided to pursue that as well, and building my own repertoire. And I feel like the musical theater background really helps me because, and I listen to this feedback from people because a lot of the Brazilian music I sing they are in Portuguese. Like some of them they have versions in English, but
Hmm.
the majority of them are in Portuguese. So I like to add a lot of storytelling to my performances, so I can kind of put people into what they're listening to and explain what the music is about, or like some history background or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like the musical theater background is what allows me to put a little bit of storytelling in my performances when I'm singing, but also in between music songs.
You mentioned that how they're not exclusive of each other, and that's for sure. And that leads back to what you said about jazz and the bossa style and all of that evolving with musical theater at the same time. And so
Hmm.
I think that is a unique element that you bring, but it really does allow that storytelling element to come out, and for us to really fall, like you said, bring the depth of the lyrics, the depths of the song and the performance to light.
For sure, yeah.
Now, as you have evolved musically, and I love that you say it just kind of fell into it, because that's some of the best stuff in the world is when you find a group of players that you just feel comfortable with, that some magic just happens. And so as you've moved to the States, and you've I'm sure found some cohorts in Chicago, and then you started university. How does that working out for you, as far as, do you have a regular group of musicians or regular professionals you play with? I know you'll be playing with the university crew here when you come into Cape tonight.
Yeah. So in Macomb, there's a big jazz program, in
Hmm.
the Western. They have wonderful musicians there, and also the faculty. They are wonderful. So I had like a certain group of people I played in Chicago when I was living there, and when I moved to Macomb, it's 4 hours and a half away, so it's pretty impractical to keep bringing people to play with me here, or
Sure.
like even going to Chicago to perform. I actually did it one summer, but it's very far away.
Hmm.
So I started making connections here in the Central Illinois area in Missouri. So starting with the faculty from Western, and then from that, I started like branching out and getting to know other musicians who are also into Brazilian music. So I started first, that are Whitney Ash put me in contact with José Emilio, which is a Brazilian who
Hmm.
lived in the St. Louis area for a long time. He unfortunately moved back to Brazil this year, but that's how I got in contact with Felipe, and then some other like Jay Ferguson, which is played with Jose for a really long time, and so like it's kind of like it branches out a lot, but everybody knows everybody in this like business.
It's a tight knit network.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
and especially like Brazilian music is so specific that not every jazz performer or musician plays Brazilian music. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like you end up finding the people who will be able to play the repertoire. And so I tried here in Macomb to like have one group, but everybody's doing everything at the same time, especially students. So
Hmm.
um, so pretty much I know the people who knows how to play Brazilian music, and then if I have a gig, I just call them and then say like, "Are you available? Let's do it."
Right.
And so I have like this like bigger community where like I know the musicians around the area, like
Hmm.
like Central Illinois and Missouri, and kind of like that's how it goes.
And it's great to have those connections, and it just continues to broaden
Yes.
what you can do too. And that said, as the musical theater side of things goes, of course, again, as you mentioned, Western Illinois has got a great jazz program there. The musical theater program as well. Regular performances, I assume, through school, and are there community things you're doing as well, and things like that?
Yes, so they do 4 shows every semester in school, and they also, pushes us to go to in summer to look for summer gigs and like summer stock shows
Right.
where you can go perform all over the states.
Keep your chops up and learn some new things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So the school produces 4 shows every semester, and then like they are hoping for everybody who graduates moving to somewhere bigger probably, and then start getting the auditions and the shows. Musical theater is a complete different thing from like the music industry and like jazz,
Oh, for sure.
bossa nova, Brazilian music industry is like two completely different things and pathways, let's say. So I feel like at Western, they do have, like, the musical theater is also very good at Western. So they prepare us for the professional real world, and like once you go out, you start seeking for those auditions and for the shows pretty much. But while we're in school, is during the semester we have like 4 shows. We audition and we we produce, and then during the summer you go out for summer stock.
You mentioned you moved to the States in 2019.
Yes.
And then shortly thereafter, we had the old COVID pandemic shenanigans.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you find yourself in a new country and, loaded up, excited, ready for new opportunities, and then the rug gets pulled out. So
I know.
how did you survive through, that element through the pandemic?
So, I mean, I, with all the respect for the people who suffered a lot in the pandemic, personally, myself, I grew a lot during that time even like as an artist, because I was living with people, with musicians as well at that time.
Yeah.
So my roommates were musicians. So we ended up doing a lot of live streams. So that's kind of like how I had the opportunity to learn the business of like being a vocalist and singing jazz without the pressure of having like a big audience.
Right.
So we just like, I also learned a lot about like self-taping and creating live streams and like the light behind me and like all those little details you don't usually know when you're a performer about like recording yourself. So it was a period of like really growth for me, because I used all that extra time we all had to learn those new skills, and also to get in depth of Brazilian music and jazz. So for me, it was actually super beneficial in that like point of view, because I learned a lot. And then after the pandemic was over, I was ready pretty much like with a whole repertoire, for jazz and Brazilian music, performed multiple times in the live streams. And then ready to go out in the world and start performing for live audiences.
That's a really cool take. And I'm an online guy as well and a musician too, and saw the same kind of thing. And through, Facebook groups where people could pop in anytime and just play a song live or whatever. I feel like almost the songwriter community grew out of that, because people were forced to knuckle down, sit at home, and really try to find other things to listen to watch.
Yeah.
And your show was called Flow.
Yeah. We did a long, because we were doing pretty much like only like live streams every week. So like 2 times a week. About, sometimes it was on one, but like somewhere between 1 and 2. And then, but it wasn't like, so it wasn't like a super planned repertoire with like some element, like, because when you create a show, it's like you have to think about a concept, like about what you're saying, very detailed, about like everything, and like your costume, everything has to be cohesive when you're thinking of a show, like a real show, right?
Right.
And then the live streams were more casual, so we were just like, okay, let's just do this repertoire today, what we're doing, and then it was very, very casual.
Yeah.
So we did a bunch of those live streams, and then we decided to do a real show using like the Eventbrite, and then kind of like sell tickets and do all of that, and then we contacted the radio station in Chicago, and then they were like, sure, we'll like advertise you and sponsor you guys. So then that was also very good for us. So it was a very successful project.
That's outstanding. And of course that growth helped, I'm sure, unite you guys as tighter musicians and spurred the creativity. And now here we are, 6 years down the road. You've been stateside now for 6 years, and of course hitting the road to come to Cape Girardeau. You got any other travel dates on the books, or any places you're looking forward to catching that you haven't?
Not yet, actually. I as I said in the beginning, I just got married, so this semester for me was just like a slowdown in my career a little bit. I didn't look for any gigs. I didn't stick for anything like that, because I was really focused on, my wedding.
Yeah.
And then also now after the wedding, catching up in school, because I was, doing all at the same time. So it was a pretty wild semester for me, for real. So I'm like after taking this breath, I'm planning on starting like seeking more gigs and
Right.
looking for more stuff. As I said, I was doing a lot of things with Jose Emilio, and he moved back to Brazil. So now I'm just like, okay, I also a very good partner here in the
Yeah.
central Illinois, and I'm starting to figure out how I'm going to walk by myself now.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we were fortunate enough to have him down for a Jazz Underground as well. It's a loss for our stateside community, right? But
Yeah.
hopefully he'll make his way back. He likes
Oh,
us
for
all.
sure. I'm very excited too.
So outside of the world of music, theater, and jazz, you got any other hobbies, any fun things you do to kind of, and of course, here you are, we're talking post-wedding de-stressing, but things that you like to kind of distract you from, that process when things might get a little overbearing?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have two cats, so we are very obsessed with them at home. They are lovely, so they are a very good distraction, and they're awesome. But also, I even like when I was preparing for the wedding, I was doing a lot of crafts and flipping furniture, and I love decorating. So at this point now, I'm getting ready for decorating my house for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have this as a big hobby, which is like decorating my house and like crafting stuff. And
Oh, sure.
This is definitely one of the things I like to do the most when I'm trying to. Okay, I don't want to think about musical theater or music anymore. I'm gonna just focus on doing like decorating my house or something. Or it's
Right.
one of those two things. Is my cats or decorating, like
Nice.
crafting.
Well, you picked a good weekend to come into town because, like, there are at least 3 craft festivals this weekend here in Cape.
Oh, really?
Arts and crafts festivals, yeah. So all kinds of crafty stuff and homemade, decorations and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll have to bring you a couple passes tonight. You can have some
Yeah,
fun. With that.
fun. Yeah, for
Cool.
sure.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate the time today. We're definitely looking forward to the show. TheScoutHall.com to grab your tickets. The doors are at 7. Show starts at 7:30. It's all ages, which always makes me happy because my son is a budding trombone student, so I try to bring him to as many jazz undergrounds as we can influence him with. But tickets are on sale now. Feel free to grab them at TheScoutHall.com and then come out tonight to catch my guest and your feature performer tonight for this underground jazz series, Catherina Shulte, as she is now. Yeah, thank you so much again for the chat and looking forward to tonight.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited as well.
Thanks for catching this Humans in Tune conversation with 93.9 Mike FM. Find previous interviews on our Facebook page, or you can listen via our podcast at 939mikefm.com.